Now, we understand some of these garden eggs have been rejected, and of course, the chilies.
Mm.
Why would you reject some of these products? What can cause a rejection?
Now, number one, the markets we work with are markets that are of a high standard, that require the best of the best. Um, to you, who is there watching, and to you, Mr. Tenua, you may look at this garden egg and it looks okay. But when you look at this, it is starting to get ripe, meaning that it was over mature. If you look at the one which is still white, if you take a closer look, you will see it has a bit of like sort of a bruise. It has a bit of spot. Now the spots come because there's a pest that has laid eggs in there and will soon hatch, and this would cause an interception. An interception has a very big impact on on our business, and we don't want to lose money because we shipped something that does not meet the market requirements. But also, before we even reach the market, we also have inspections at the pack house level by MAIF, and some of the things they look for are definitely to do with some of the things I've talked about. But these practices mainly come from the production side. And that's why when you become our farmer, you are joining us to make money. We must train you. How do you make the money? What do you need to do to ensure that you're making the money? And also, because when you make money, we make money. When you produce and we export, of course, we sell and both earn money. When you produce and we export and we are intercepted, we both lose money. Sometimes you may not lose, but the financial impact on us is always very huge. So we train a farmer to understand what caused the rejections that were at the pack house, and also a farmer should be also trained to ensure they do pre-sorting where they can address this, because once you do that at the farm level, then you know what you need to do, or you consult our agronomist, because our agronomist is your agronomist. He works for you, not for us. He needs to ensure that he's doing everything that he's trained to do to ensure that you are meeting the market and you're earning money.
Then, of course, you've explained about the eggplant. How about the chilies? Why did you reject, sort out this as a reject?
Now, it still comes back to the same thing. It's either young, like you see this, or if you look at some of these which are mature, which are at the exportable size, you find that there may be issues to do with pests also, there are spots, or maybe even during harvest, we must look at post-harvest handling. How do you handle when you are harvesting? We train you to know that when I'm harvesting, I need to know that this is a delicate crop. It is not so complex, but you need to do the right things to ensure that your quality is not affected, because quality is what is important in our business. We must have quality produce. We must have something that someone in Europe will buy, someone in the Middle East will buy and pay high money when they know they are getting a very good product.
Does that mean that from the first day one, when I plant, I even know a particular date when I'm going to harvest?
Now, I used the phrase quality, but quality comes right from the seed you use, the inputs, the chemicals you're going to use, the practices at your farm. Your farm should not have weeds. So when you become our farmer, we train you and we continuously work with you. Not that we monitor you, but for us, we continuously work with you to tell you that we need a garden that does not have weeds. We need a garden that you need to know, what do I need to do. Most of the time in Uganda, people have a tendency of waking up and just spraying. But you must spray when there is a reason as to why you're spraying. And with these days where we are moving to climate smart agriculture, where we care about the climate and the environment, we need to reduce the use of chemicals and move to other smarter practices that reduce the use unwanted chemicals, meaning we need to have a good seed. We also need to have good inputs, and we also have what we call integrated pest management, where we use I believe you have a village where you come from, and most of our villages used to have monkeys. Then they would put a scarecrow in the garden to scare away the monkeys. That was also a method of controlling against pests, because the monkey would attack the crops, so it is also an outsider. It should not be in the garden. So we have those practices that someone can actually use to ensure that they are giving us a very high quality product, but with minimal chemical usage, or it even reduces the cost of production. The other element that I want to talk about is the greenhouse. Because for most of our farmers, some of our farmers can afford to have greenhouses. So if the farmer can afford a greenhouse, the initial cost is high, but the cost of production in a greenhouse is lower, and the yield of a greenhouse is always higher than open field, because you have a controlled environment, meaning you control everything. In most cases, even a greenhouse, you may not even need to ever use chemicals. So those are some of the things that we train a farmer, and we provide guidance on which direction a farmer can take based on what their investment is.
Of course, can you kindly share with us a bit of your background as a farmer? Where have you been? What has been your journey like?
Personally, I come from a farming background. I come from a home that was involved in agriculture from my childhood. When I went to school, finished university, I did some other businesses, but my interest was, in life everybody has their calling. I always looked at doing something that could give back to the communities, to the kind of people I grew up seeing, the background, the families I came from. What could I do that could benefit everybody, and work with them that's the best environment that I best understand. And that, because I had a farming background, I come from a family where most of us are actually involved in agriculture. That's why I ended up here, and it's been an interesting journey, knowing that I'm addressing the challenges that I best understand. I know the pain of a farmer, and I also still do farming, because I don't just do export, but I still do farming to best understand the practices and the challenges that my fellow farmers are facing.
Maybe if you can also help us to understand, if I had 1 acre of garden eggs grown under normal circumstances, the normal way Ugandans plant things, and then the one which is guided by your extension staff, and then another one where we are using greenhouses. How big is the profitability for those three scenarios?
I think most of us do agriculture in open field. That is the best scenario we should discuss, because anyone out there would want to know, because few people start with a greenhouse. I understand that very few farmers, realistically, if they are not into the export market, few farmers are able to earn 2 million shillings from 1 acre every week. And by the way, these crops you're all seeing here, these crops, you harvest them weekly. It's not like coffee where you wait for 2 seasons in a year and it is gone. When you grow any of these crops, most of the crops, you have a crop like okra, which can be cut 3 times in a week. But also it is not for a starting farmer. That is for someone who is technical, who understands what they are doing. For those intending to join agriculture, one thing they must understand is, come when you know you're going to do business. Don't come to us when you are just testing the waters. No, we don't want such farmers, because they never succeed. We want farmers who want to do business. Now, when you want to do business, number 1, you must have enough information. Number 2, there must be a supportive system, which we provide. Number 3, you must know how much money you're going to earn. Give or take, a farmer with an acre of garden eggplant with the good seed well taken care of should be able to earn a minimum of 2 million per week. And this is a farmer, if he has water, is putting fertilizers, he should be able to be harvesting for more than 6 months. And the same plant. For the chilies can go more than a year. Give or take, minimum is 8 months. For the habaneros, the minimum we look at is 18 months. From the same plant you're harvesting. But remember, I have said we must also understand the language of inputs. Bw'ojja okulima saagala otunule nga kino kitaddeko, then 3 months you don't want to put back. Because you're going to be earning money. A hot pepper acre will give you around 2.5 million per week with a good seed and well done. Chili will be around between 2.5 to 2.8. So we need to understand the crop, know what it requires, and we come and earn money. Don't hear the figures and just saying zengenze kwata sente. You need to understand, what do I need to do? Because I've said I'm calling upon you to come and do business. If you're coming to do business, please make sure you work with us. We provide a system that is very supportive to you. And we do not want you to come and say, Nze nalimada, I understand how farming is done, and you don't follow the procedure. Then you produce and bring us and we are rejecting and you're losing money. Yet you should be making money. So when you hear the figures of the money, you come down, we will give you the cost breakdown, what you need to input, how much will be paying you per a kilogram of whatever you decide to grow, and then we start from there. But for starters, come when you know I'm going to do business and I'm going to dedicate time. Because these are crops you're going to harvest weekly, therefore you cannot go and plant them and wait to go back after 3 months like coffee. Meaning that it is giving you money weekly, therefore on a weekly basis, we need to know what is happening at the farm. And that is what we need. For the market aspect, I do believe that even with the exporters that may watch me or may hear me, they know it very well that Uganda does not have enough produce to meet even the global market. The demand for Ugandan produce. One, we have the biggest advantage of the weather. The weather of Uganda gives almost all these crops a flavor that you don't get from any other country. And that gives us a selling advantage that everybody out there should take advantage of to ensure that we tap the bigger market and we are able to earn money. Because if we don't, the food market works in a way that when you do not cover the space, somebody else from another country will cover the space. And therefore, as Ugandans, we must work hard to ensure that at least of the 3.6 trillion value, maybe Uganda can move from 1.7 and the market can grow maybe to 1 billion or to 2 billion or 3 billion, and we have a bigger share of the market.
Can most of these products grow anywhere? Because I've heard there are particular areas of focus like Kanungu and elsewhere. Can these products grow all over the country?
Most of these crops, for example, like what we are seeing here, Uganda, I think, has the biggest cultivatable land I don't know, in Africa or in the whole world, but it is one of those countries that are fortunate enough to find that you can grow anything anywhere. The key area here is always water. Most of the country receives rains but also has dry spells. So when you're going to grow the crop, we need to also factor in the element of water, where we can guide you and tell you, if you're in this place, we can do water harvesting. Or maybe we can use these other means to ensure that we have water, whereby if it is dry, we are irrigating. That doesn't mean that when it is raining, you don't produce. You will produce, but when it is dry, it means that your crops will not produce. So when we are growing, the biggest element that we look at to grow any of these crops is always the water aspect that affects people. But even then, we are trying to work with partners to ensure that for the farmers that we work with, we are trying to address the element of irrigation what minimum kits can we work with to ensure the farmers are producing.
You talked about a supportive system which you provide. What is the supportive system?
The supportive system starts with the trainings. Monthly we have trainings here. We also, I told you, we have collection centers. We have 4 collection centers across the country, and we always conduct trainings in those places because we have agronomists based in those collection centers. It's a system we've tried to put in place to ensure that we address the challenges our farmers face in areas where we operate. The other, we also guide you, and we insist on the inputs because they are key. In Uganda, many people don't know the value of having good seed in production. But seed is everything. You have a wrong seed, then you're wrong in everything you're going to do. You know, it's like you driving a vehicle with the used oil. You know, it's always a time bomb that things will go wrong. So even us here, we provide the trainings, and we also provide the access to the good seed to ensure that if we say that you're going to grow the garden eggs and you're going to produce 1.5 ton per week of garden eggs, and your projections are that you're going to be selling these garden eggs, let's say contract price is 2,500. If we do the calculations and we're looking at 3.7 or 3 point something, figures not so accurate, how do you achieve that if you don't use the good seed? It is impossible. With the right seed, we will give you a seed supplier that will guarantee the volumes. If the volumes are not met, then they will be able to answer. Because your projections are that Nagenda Kulima, and I was expecting to earn 3 million per week, and now I am getting 1 million. Please explain the seed that you supplied me. And that is how we try to ensure that the farmers that we move with should be exemplary, and they become our demo farmers that people can look at and say those people are doing a business that is making sense.
You mentioned that agricultural officers come here for inspection. When do they come in? Do you invite them? Is it a surprise inspection? How is it organized, and who pays the cost?
Unfortunately, in Uganda, we pay the cost of everything. So they must come even to your farm when you grow. And that cost is met by the exporter. When you grow, when you join us, we put you in production, we train you, you start production, we must pay them to come and give you a farmer code that you're supplying under. Now, every time we have a shipment here, they have to come because these crops must go with what they call a plant passport or a phytosanitary certificate. And that is issued after they have inspected and confirmed that the produce meets the required standards. That's why I said we need to have the right source of seed. Because when you're going to buy this seed, you get the projections of what the seed you're going to plant, what the yield should be. You understand? What the yield should be. The yield, if I come to you, I'm going to sell, because you see, we try to avoid, in Uganda, everybody sells anything. So even us, when we are selecting which seed supplier to work with, we are very careful. And also had to first do demo samples to ensure that these figures people talk of are realistic. Because we don't want to lose the farmer. Because for us, if we just come in with a hype business, then we've been in existence for 8 years as United Pearl Exporters. And for you to talk of a business that has lived that long, you must at least have addressed certain problems, and you don't want to lose the years of hard work just at the blink of an eye. So you need to work with a reputable person that if you give me seed I go and plant, for example, and you tell me your seed germination rate is over 80%, I go and plant and I'm getting 60%, are you going to compensate? Because I've paid you money, you know. You don't want a farmer. Our interest is in making sure the farmer does not lose any money. So if this person is giving you seed, the good thing is they also have agronomists. So the agronomists continuously also work hand in hand with you, with our agronomists. And you will find that even sometimes they may visit you more because they don't have very many farmers, but they will visit you more than our agronomist will visit you. Probably they can be visiting you every week. Why? Because they want to be sure that the seed, what they promised, is close to their projections. And that's why we said, if you remember in my beginning remarks, I said we need to first visit your land and be sure. Because if the seed is right and the area you're going to plant is right, because some areas may not favor certain crops. And therefore, once we visit and we do maybe soil sampling, then we best advise which other crop can you do. Now, when you talk of some of these things, some farmers say, but also think about the money we are talking about. Now, this is where most of the farmers have been going wrong. That someone comes, tells them things, they get excited, they go to do the work, the results are different. It's because you skipped the other key area that I've talked about. Therefore, if we say we are targeting 3 million per week, which seems like a dream for very many people, unless you talk to someone who has been in production, how do we achieve that? How do we move to the intended target? Because we are talking about practical numbers. We don't want to talk politics because business and politics rarely meet. So we need to be practical and say, if we are talking to a farmer, is the farmer going to realistically realize this money? Is the produce going to come out of the farm? So how do we address that? By ensuring that if you have supplied us seed, we need to be sure your seed is working. If we have been working with the input supply, if we say fertilizers, we're applying fertilizers, what is the combination? In Uganda, there is one trend that goes around, which I believe even you could know. When you talk of NPK, someone says 17, 17, 17. Then you say, but what is the 17 for? What is the 17 for? What is the 17 for? And the farmer doesn't know, which is very wrong. So if we are doing commercial agriculture, we must know. If my crop webanga, the leaves are yellow, what is the ingredient that is missing? If I'm not getting big fruits, what am I missing? Because the crop is talking. And you can only get the yield by understanding these things. And these things are best understood if a farmer is understanding them. And that is why the agronomist must ensure that they are addressing these issues, to ensure that whoever is doing farming is going to earn the money. The money will come to their pockets. Because with export, once you produce the produce, and it is there, you have the yield, you should be able to earn the money because the market is there. Like I've said, some of the markets, they receive produce in one day that Uganda cannot produce in a year. In one day, like the Rungis market, they will receive produce from different countries in one day that Uganda will not produce and export in a year. So how do we move to the direction of ensuring that we are talking realistic numbers? Is by making sure the farmer, who is a key player here, understands and receives the necessary support to ensure that the business makes sense for them. Because nobody wants to continue doing a business that does not make profit. Unless that money is falling like manna from heaven, nobody is going to continue to do that business.
So who pays the agronomists?
The agronomists are employed by the company. The agronomists are paid by the company, and that's why you will see agronomists have motorcycles. Wherever the collection centers, the farmers who are near there can attest. We provide motorcycles, and therefore to ease the movement of the agronomists to ensure that they reach our farmers very fast.
So if I fail to achieve the target, for example, I feel an SC, which I expect to earn, like you have said, 2.5, and I get to know that the seed was the problem. And I know this at the time of the harvest. Because I have my expectations, do we have something like an insurance that since we
A
are
mechanism for compensation.
that since we are not earning what you wish to, we can give you some money, or the other company which provides this.
Now, okay, when you're buying this seed, the seed seller, because for us we don't get seed and give it to you. You go to the seed seller, and they must provide guarantees when you're buying their seed. Because if we get and give you, then that means we are getting involved in the business that they should be able to guarantee, and that is what we do. We make sure that the seed seller should be able to give you those guarantees. Even when you come here and we are recommending you to go there, we tell you please get the guarantees, and the seed seller is willing to give those guarantees because they are sure about their seed.
We talked about the rejects,
Yes.
or products that do not meet the required standards.
Yes.
What happens to them?
Now, for certain crops that we have value addition, where we do we add value on some of these crops, and we continue to expand our product line. For habaneros, this is a product we are doing value addition on currently, and we're in the process of moving also to the green chili and the other crops. But what we try to do, because when we started this business, the level of rejections was very high, that the farmers were losing as high as 60%. But we've been able to reduce it to now around between 30 and 40%. But we still believe there is still a lot of work to do. Our target would be at least for a farmer not to lose more than 5 to 10%, because that would be an acceptable level where we know that the farmer is earning a lot of money. But this doesn't mean that every farmer loses that percentage. Please understand. Because the losses that most farmers face are post-harvest losses, which are because of the practices after harvesting. So if you address them, you will realize that your losses will be between 5 to 10%, which is always the handling aspect. How do you transport to the collection center, or how do you transport to the pack house, is where most of the crop gets damaged. And also your practices at the farm, because we have farmers who are very serious, and their losses are unbelievable. If other farmers visit and they are told, they say no, it is impossible, because the other ones have mastered all the techniques to ensure that they minimize the post-harvest losses so that they can earn more from the crop. Yeah.
So we are talking about post-production. What can the farmers do? Because we don't have any other means of we can't be having volumes at our farms. We can't. We of course our means of transport, borders, buses, what can?
There's a lot a farmer can do to earn more. It's like you're seeing crates here. Not every farmer is going to be able to afford those crates. We have a system, but I always don't like to talk about what we haven't fully started implementing. A system whereby if you're a contracted farmer, then we can give you crates, and then we see how we can offset as you start to supply. But in the meantime, there are different ways of transporting, which we guide you and train you, that are easily accessible for any farmer, to ensure that the post-harvest losses are minimized. When we are harvesting, what can we do at the farm level? But you see, some of our farmers are stubborn. You tell them that please, let's have a platform. Everybody, wherever you'll be doing farming, there are trees, and you can easily do a makeshift. All you need is to cut some poles, and then you make a platform. You harvest when you're putting there, you put a tarpaulin, or we say we put under a shade, maybe under a tree, but some farmers will not do that. When you harvest, the crop has life. That's why you see this, the stalk is dry, because the life is going. It's called the shelf life. That like a person if you don't die in an accident and you fall sick, you die slowly until you're gone. So even a crop lives life. So it is dying. Once you harvest it, its journey has started. And how it is handled determines whether you go faster. Like if you're sick and you don't get treatment, you can go faster. So it's the same thing with the crop. So the farmer just needs to understand, how do I prolong the life of this crop? Through my practices, things I'm doing at the farm, how do they contribute to this crop reaching the pack house when it is still in a state that I will not lose much and I will earn more? So that is the training the farmer has to get, and some of the practices are basic and they make a lot of impact. Our interest would be in you starting with an acre. Why do I say an acre? We find that if you start with half an acre, the cost of planting and maintaining half an acre, you will be shocked. You will find that sometimes you can spend the same money like someone doing an acre, or even more than someone doing an acre. So you need to know the best practices for you to be able to do this business. Secondly, you need to understand that you don't need all the money at once. Let's say we are saying the crop takes 4 months, because most of these crops maximum is 4 months. You will not, if you need 3 million before you enter production, you will not need all the 3 million before starting. You can, the money that you will need first will be for seed. Then after that, the money that you will need will be to maintain the farm, to maintain the garden, which is weeding. We can even think of better measures like, can we do mulching? If we do mulching, what are the benefits? How do we, the key thing here, I think, to summarize it for you, is that you must have the passion and willingness. Are you committed? Like I said, all of us want money, but don't hear there is money there and you just go. What if they are stealing? Please understand what is the requirement for you to earn that money. And the requirement is simple. 1, have the passion. Number 2, have the time. Number 3, ensure that you have the commitment. Because if you have those 3 things, you will come here, you will succeed. And those who will laugh at you and say that there is no money in agriculture will be the ones running after you to say that, please teach us how you're doing it. If I'm to talk about the market, that would need you to give me another maybe 1 hour. The market that we have, we cannot satisfy it. Why? Because we don't have enough produce, and mainly we don't have enough produce because we are not producing what is the expected quality that meets the standards. The market is so big. I think even if the whole of Uganda produced, let's say, green chili, habaneros, garden eggs, still would not cover the global market. But the key aspect here is ensuring that we are producing the quality. The money is when I hear people, yes, coffee is good, but if the emphasis was in this horticulture produce, I think people would earn more money. I have heard people say that, you mean coffee? I will ask you, if you're earning 3 million, let's say 2 million from a garden eggs acre every week, you multiply that by 6. How much money does one earn from an acre of coffee in 6 months? And also we are talking about here income that is weekly, that you're getting paid weekly. So you can see the difference is black and white. Yes, there is a lot of work to do here, more than the coffee. Perhaps the coffee you plant it, wait, go back after 3 months. But here also the returns are high and they are weekly. So people just need to understand, we need to put the emphasis on the right crops that can take our people out of poverty, but also provide the necessary support systems. And for us, we are here, we have a very big market, we need more farmers. The farmers that have those 3 aspects that I talked about. Because we don't want you to come here, go and plant, bring things that are diseased, that are full of pests, and then we are telling you you've done something wrong, and then you say, me, I expected to earn money. No, there's money, but understand what you need to do to ensure you get the money. We will be very happy if you are there watching us and you come and we start after 4 months, because after 3.5 months you should start seeing money. That is the fact, and that money starts, it will be there. You're doing it, it will be there every week. You must harvest this crop, because for it on a weekly basis must be harvested until maybe for the next 6 to 8 months. The people even have garden eggs which can even spend more than a year, but their input usage is always top class.